This is the video review of the core mecha of Zyuden Sentai Kyoryuger. We have Stegochi, Gabutyra, and Dricera, and together they form Kyorujin. These guys are really big. Like the arm swap guys, they're as big as any leg or torso unit from previous Super Sentai and Power Ranger series. They are a nice size. But Gabutyra is in a class of his own. I mean, he's not as wide as Masterpiece Grimlock, but he is definitely bigger. And it's been a while since I've seen the Trypticon, but he might even be bigger than Trypticon. Not wider, but bigger. He is just super big, and if it weren't for this long review table, I would not be able to review him. And when I get to him, he is definitely going to go off camera. Kyorujin is going to go off camera too. Just the nature of the beast, because this set is huge. Now, before I get to Gabutyra, or the smaller guys, I need to cover the Judenchi. The Judenchi are basically batteries. You even see the nub on the positive side, no nub on the negative side. You see a little clear window here. This, how it's sort of darkened there. That will glow in the dark. It basically means that it's off. Now it's on, now it's off. And I really like these. They're a decent collectible gimmick for the Kyoryuger line. I don't like these for the collection gimmick, that's not really my thing. But I like how these work in the toys. They really pull together what would otherwise be a fairly simple combination process. You'll see what I mean when we get to it. But in the show, these are also pretty neat in the show because these things power both the Zords and the Rangers. I'm American, I know they're called the Kyoryugers, and I know these are called the Juden Ryu. Just bear with me because it's simpler for me because this is how I know Sentai, through Power Rangers. The Judenchi power both the Rangers and the Zords, and that means that the Zords can operate without these, but what it means is that the Zords, because they're still giant robots, are really powerful, even without these, but it means that because a Ranger can also use this, if a Ranger wants to, he can be as powerful as a Zord. And in fact, that even happens in the show. In the first or second episode, the Red Ranger powers up with a Judenchi and fights alongside Gabutyra as his equal, and it's awesome. So I really like the Judenchi on a conceptual level. They are really neat how they interplay in the toy and in the show. Now, I've said basically everything I can about them. I'll be showing off the other ones when I get to these smaller guys. Speaking of which, let's go for Stegochi first. This is Stegochi. He is a Stegosaurus, and I like him. I like his shade of blue, although the shade of blue ends up kind of clashing in the combined mode. I'll talk about that in the combined mode. But I like his shade of blue. I like how it mixes with the yellow. I wish he had a bit more of this silver paint on him, like on this rebar detail here that's not painted, or some of this stuff in here. He does come across as a little bit under-detailed, but the big yellow paint apps on the legs and the little bit of silver that he does have does kind of make up for it. I wish he had a bit more, but I'm okay with what he has. He has a little bit of posability. The legs can go forward and back and stuff. They ratchet at kind of weird angles, like a little bit here and then a lot to there. That's basically just because it needs to go straight like this for the combination. Other than that, he doesn't do much by himself. To do anything more with him, you need his Judenchi. Brave in, open his mouth, and there's a little black sled in there. You plug it into the sled, and then you press this button, and then that will free the sled. And when you free the sled, press it all the way in, this pops up. Now this popped up before, and that's just because it's kind of loose. The difference is when the sled's in, you can't press it back down. And this basically means he's in this powered up mode. And all it means is that the Judenchi's inside of him. And in the terms of the show, he's more powerful. That's Stegochi, basically. We'll get into a bit more about him, especially his saberback stuff. We'll get into that a bit more when we get to the Kyoryujin mode. Next we have Dricera. And Dricera is basically the same mold, it's the same template as Stegochi. And that kind of sucks because there are two basic templates for the arm swap guys. There's this quadruped template, and then there's a biped template, which is used for Zakutor and Parasagon. Zakutor is a green raptor, and then Parasagon is a black Paracephalosaurus or something like that. I think that's the name, I'm not sure. Anyway, here we have the Pink Rangers thing, and I recognize the significance of this being actually pink and not some other color with just pink highlights. But I'm not as thrilled by this as a lot of other guys are. It's neat. That's all I really have to say about it. I don't mind it. The color scheme works for me. I wish he were a brighter color, but I'll talk about that when we get to Kyorujin. Now for her Judenchi gimmick, pop this open, brave in, plug it in, press the button to free the sled, press it in, and that pops out. Making him pull this out a little bit more. And she has the same posability as Stegochi does, and really everything I can say about Stegochi I can say about her, the only difference being the colors and a little bit of molding. And those are the small guys. Now for the big guy. Just the camera. Bring him forward. And, yeah, I really like this guy. I have problems with him, but I like him. From the side, he looks great. From this side, he looks great. From the other side, this is just lazy. They really could have painted this stuff in. Because, I mean, they painted it in all around here, here, and on this leg. If they had just painted this in, this side would have looked so much better. It could also use some yellow down here like the other side, but I'm not too picky about that. I just want that to be painted. And because the side has all these screw holes, it's not a presentable side. Because this side back here is basically his ass. And this side from here, while it looks good, there isn't really much detail put into making it look good. It's basically the, you have this big joint here and then some flat sides here. It basically just looks okay. So the point I'm getting to here is that he's really kind of a two-dimensional figure because this is the only side where he really looks presentable. So if you have him on a shelf, you're going to be looking at his side, not his front, not his top or his bottom or his back or his front, just this side. So he's almost kind of a two-dimensional figure in that way, and it's kind of weird. So that's the biggest problem I have with him. Another problem I have with him is this is not spring-loaded shut. It just gravity's shut. That kind of annoys me. It's not a big deal. I wish they had spring-loaded it. Now for the Judenchi, what this does is you put it into his mouth, click it in, then there's a button on the underside of the top of his mouth, and if you bite it down on the Judenchi, these feathers will come up. And I like the way that looks. It's a simple gimmick, but it adds a little bit of charm to the guy. I really like the little feathers on it. And that's how you know he's powered up. And that's basically all you can do on this guy in this mode without the electronics. I can't remember if I said it in this take of this video, but I will not be covering the electronics in this video. I will be doing the electronics in a sequel video. And there are several reasons for that. One is going through the electronics really slows down the combination process and makes it a chore. And it's easy to screw up the electronics if you're not careful. So I'll be doing that in another video. And they do add some play value to the toy. Just, if you want to know about electronics, I'll show them in the next video. Now, this guy does have some possibility. Not much, but it does have some. The little arms here can go up and down. You get this. And, because he does have electronics through his body, his head here can't turn too much. Basically just 90 degrees in this direction, and nothing else, like he can't turn in this direction. He can get a little bit of head posability. It's not much, but it's really not necessary for this guy, because just being big and awesome is all he really needs to do. For his legs, you can bend them down like this, but because it screws up his feet being flat on the ground, it doesn't really work. And that's about it for this guy in this mode. Just his presence is enough to make him awesome. And he is my favorite of this bunch. Now to transform this guy, I like his transformation, but one thing about it does piss me off. Parts forming. Now when you open this up, you have his helmet in here. I don't mind the helmet. I don't mind parts forming for tiny inconsequential things, for detail things, or when there's a really good reason for it. But, so I don't mind the helmet, but I do mind this. Especially because the only reason for it to be like this is for a later combination with a figure I don't have, which means until I get the figure, I have the problem, but not the reason for the problem. Nothing that justifies the problem. So, take the helmet, pop up the head, plop it down onto the head, and this thing actually really helps him stay balanced, because without this, his head brings him forward quite a bit. And then to continue the transformation, we will bring these back, and they'll ratchet into position. Bring these down to, because his legs are kind of paper thin, it fills them out a little bit. And then you'll press these buttons, pull this back, down, fold these down onto his thighs, rotate forward, and we are almost done. All we need to do now is split his legs. And then a bit of warning about the legs. They only go out 2 clicks. If you bring them out any more, you'll stress the plastic in a weird way, and I don't think you'll break the figure, but you will damage the figure. So only out 2 clicks. Just a warning. And then we need to take this piece here, and you plug it onto his back as a cape. And that is Gabutyra in his Kyorujin mode. Now for these guys, what you'll do is you'll fold the legs up like this, open the mouth, and press the button here to launch the sled forward. A bit of warning about this. Now, I don't know if this is a widespread problem. I imagine it's not, because it happens more on my Stegochi than on my Dricera. But if you point them down and launch these out, it'll sometimes spit out the Judenchi. So if you are playing with this guy and you launch out the Judenchi with them facing down, just keep that in mind, because you might damage it or break it or lose it. So launch this out, and go ahead and take this off. And then what happens is you'll plug this in right here. And this is why I like the Judenchi, because having these pop out as part of the combination mechanism is really neat. It's a nice kinetic element, and it makes the combination sequence very fun, even though it is very basic, because you have a decent transformation, but still kind of simplistic on Gabutyra. Then these guys are very simple. But adding that one little element, that one kinetic element, just makes it so much fun to combine these guys. It ties together the combination sequence. Pop it out and plug it in. And this is one of the reasons why I don't want to cover the electronics in the video, because to do the electronics, you need to take the Judenchi out and put them into here to have them read, and put them in and to have them read in the order that they're being used. And the reason why that's bad is it means that it interrupts the flow of pressing the button to activate the connection joint. Even though they're not actually part of the connection joint, they look like they are. It interrupts that play flow, and that kind of ruins the effect for me. So that's why I'm just covering the toy in this video. Now you have this as a weapon, and you can use this in 2 ways. You can use it as a sword, and I like the sword. It's pretty neat. Or you can use it as a bashing shield. And for the bashing shield, I like to have him hold it upside down like this, so his fist is closer to the middle, so it's not so high up. So this is what the bashing shield looks like. It looks pretty good. It's not the greatest thing in the world. It looks better in the show because it's wider, because you don't see screws on it, and because he has the possibility to really make it look decent. And also on the show, if you angle the arm down, the blade doesn't flop. And the reason why the blade flops is just so that when you push the Judenchi into Stegochi, this will pop up reliably. And then for the sword, I'm going to talk about a problem I have with the sword, but I don't want to get into the problems of the figure just yet. So, I'll get into the problem of the sword in a bit, but for now, this is what the sword looks like. It's very neat, and it suits the figure. It suits the figure very well. It's very threatening looking. And this is, well, brain fart there. Sorry. Now, this figure has a decent amount of posability for a Super Sentai figure. The arms are a bit limited because they don't go around 360 degrees, they just go up 90 degrees. And that's a bit of a shame, but I understand why they did that, because they don't want the wires to twist in his chest. Now, his head can bob up and down a little bit, it's very silly. The legs can go forward a little bit, these get in the way. They can go forward. They can also go in and out. And they can go back, but if you make them go back too far, you'll knock that off. So, he does have leg posability, but it's not the most useful thing in the world. And he does have one last bit of posability that actually can be used to decent effect, which is a waist swivel. You can, yeah, it ratchets at a little bit too much of an angle for me, but you can use it to give him a bit more personality to his poses. And without going into the electronics, that's basically the figure by himself. I like the way he looks. He's very big and imposing. I like the combination sequence when you use the Judenchi. And overall, he just has a big presence to him. He's a very fun and neat figure. He's certainly a lot nearer than I thought he would be. He does have some problems, though. And I mean more than just this thing. Okay, so I have this arm like this, a little tap, and it goes all the way back down. That's a problem, because these ratchets, while they sound strong, and when you don't have these guys attached, they are strong. These things are just way too heavy for the ratchets in there. The next problem I have is related to this, which is, let me see if I can do it. This is kind of random when it happens, but well, it's not happening now, but what will happen sometimes is these things will swing down with so much force that will dislodge the arms from the connections here, sort of like that is right there. That's what it looks like when it happens. It's not happening now, but it does happen sometimes. Another problem is when you have the electronics on, what happens is the Judenchi are in their locked position out, and they press a button inside of these connection joints. If you accidentally press this button here, it will unlock the sled, and the tension from the button in there will press the Judenchi back down into the body. And that will cause the button in here to unpress, and that can sometimes screw up the electronics that you're trying to mess with. And those are the basic problems with the arms. Not much you can do about them. Now, there is a problem with this arm in particular, and it's actually kind of a problem with all of the arms, but from what I can tell of the arms that have been released and that look like they're going to be released, it's only a problem that really affects this one. Now, if you look into the fist, you can see kind of a cross pattern. You don't see a cross pattern on this handle. Now, as far as I know, this is the only handle that Kyoryujin ever needs to hold, but it means that if you try and push this into the hand, it only goes in so far. Only goes in about that far. And because of how big this is and how much leverage you get on it, it means that it comes out very easily. And this is a problem that I actually fixed on mine. It took a bit of work to do, but if you look in here, you no longer see that cross pattern. There's only one nub in there. And there's a little channel in here that I cut out. Basically, I just cut a little notch in the bottom there. And that means now that when I plug this in, it goes in very tightly. And I like that. It works very well like this now, so on mine this isn't a problem, but it is a problem on other figures, on other copies of this figure. So, yeah, those are my problems with this guy in Kyoryujin mode. He's not a perfect figure. He certainly has some problems, like here's one problem that I alluded to this earlier, but the color scheme here kind of clashes a little bit. And the problem actually isn't Pink's fault. Pink actually works pretty well with this. The problem is Stegochi's fault because his blue is too dark. And we know for a fact that this basically is the problem, because with a Kyoryujin Macho, which uses Ankidon instead of Stegochi, Ankidon is a bright baby blue, and it works so well with the pink of a Dricera. So that's a small problem. I didn't mean to go on a tangent and interrupt what I was saying with that. I just want to make sure I got that in. This right here is not a bad color for the figure. So he's a good figure. I like him quite a bit. Conceptually, he is a good figure, but he does have some problems. Now, if I want to recommend this figure, that's kind of a tough question, because I like Kyoryuger a lot, and that's part of why I like Kyoryujin so much, because when I play with the guy, I'm reminded of this show, and all of the awesome of the show bleeds in with the awesome of the figure standalone, so it makes for a, the figure is more than the sum of its parts because of the show, for me. If you don't want to watch Kyoryuger, or you don't like Kyoryuger, you won't have that same effect as I do on it. So, basically the show sold me on the concept. Before I watched the show, the concept of this kind of offended me, because it seems very simplistic on the surface. So, if this concept offends you in any way, even if you like the figure, I would kinda not get it. But if the concept doesn't offend you, and especially if you like the show, it's a great figure, and I do recommend it, because this is one of the best things I've bought all year. It is a really nice figure. Now, I do have a couple other things on the way, like I have Go-Kaio and Great Go-Buster on the way, so I don't know if I like those more than I like this guy, but I do like this guy. If you get him, I don't think you'll regret it too much, and if you have some free money to spend, and if you don't have anything else within his price range that you really want to get, then I would definitely give him a try. If you really want him, go ahead and get him. That's basically my recommendation. So I review Power Rangers, Transformers, Macross figures, a ton of stuff like that. If any of that sounds interesting, please subscribe. Thank you for watching.